Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Daily December 2017. This is day 7, because I'm about a day behind, and this is the third time I've tried to film this. And each one has ended up lasting like half an hour, and I was barely into the subject matter, and I don't want this video to be that long. And it was also causing a fair amount of anxiety and panic. So as I was talking about it, so I'm going to try and keep this as short as physically possible. I want to talk about one of my specific disorders that I've been diagnosed with. For those of you who don't know, I have multiple diagnosed mental disorders that I deal with every single day. The one in specific I want to speak about is the diagnosis itself is panic disorder with agoraphobia. And I want to specifically talk about agoraphobia because due to really, really bad portrayals in media and the fact that it's a poorly named phobia, a lot of people don't understand what agoraphobia is. And I want to talk about it because most recently I had a conversation with a friend that didn't understand what agoraphobia was and couldn't understand why I couldn't come hang out with them because that particular day I was struggling extremely badly with my panic disorder and agoraphobia. And she kept trying to offer these solutions that weren't actual solutions to it because she didn't understand what it was. So I want to talk about what is agoraphobia. And panic disorder is kind of an intrinsic part of agoraphobia. Panic disorder itself basically means you get panic attacks often. And I've mentioned this in Stopping the Stigma, specifically in the episode where I talked about narcissistic personality disorder. There's a difference between being a narcissist and having narcissistic personality disorder. Narcissism is a character trait. Narcissistic personality disorder is a mental disorder. And the difference being you can have narcissistic traits and not have narcissistic personality disorder because what makes it a personality disorder is that it negatively impacts your life. It prevents you from living the life that you want to live. That's the difference between a character trait and a disorder. And the same can be said about the difference between like a fear and a phobia. Phobias are defined. They're actually defined in the DSM-5, which is the most current. It's the Diagnostic Statistic Manual of something. I don't know. They just call it the DSM-5. It's the 5th version of it. Psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, they all have copies of it because it lists every single psychotic disorder and mental disorder that currently is accepted as being real, being a defined disorder. All of them are in this book, and they use this book to help diagnose their patients. Phobias are in this book. The difference between a fear and a phobia is like I have a fear of spiders. They terrify me, but I have never. I have. My fear of spiders might border on phobia. But like a fear is, you're afraid of something. And some of those fears are very, very healthy. Like black widow spiders, I'm afraid of them. I'm afraid of all spiders, but I'm afraid of black widow spiders. Black widow spiders can hurt and or kill you. So being afraid of them is a completely legitimate thing. It does not mean you have arachnophobia or, black widow-ophobia or anything like that. A phobia, kind of like a disorder, negatively impacts your life, and they're generally defined by what's called avoidance behavior, where you will actively avoid situations where you might be put you might have to encounter whatever you have a phobia of. If you have aquaphobia, you will avoid the beach because there is water there. You will avoid swimming pools and things like that. You will go out of your way to avoid the things, to avoid any area where you might have to deal with your phobia, the thing that causes your phobia. So agoraphobia. A lot of people think agoraphobia is fear of the outdoors, fear of going outside. And that's partially because of really, really bad portrayals of agoraphobia in film and television. They always treat it as if it is, that's exactly what it is. And partly because the name itself, literally translated, when you look at the root of the words, agoria comes from the Greek for public place, and phobia again comes from the Greek for fear. So fear of public places. When you look at the actual etymology of the word, is fear of public places, or fear of the outside would be a very easy translation of it. That's not what agoraphobia is. I have panic disorder with agoraphobia. I get panic attacks, and I get them often enough that they impact my life in a negative way. A lot of people get panic attacks. They're not incredibly uncommon, but I get them so often that they prevent me from doing a lot of things. For a while, they stopped me from sleeping. I would wake up in the middle of the night in a full-blown panic attack for no reason. Like, it wouldn't be from a nightmare, though I have had nightmares that have caused me to wake up in a full panic state, having a panic attack. Sometimes I would just wake up and have a panic attack. Or I'd be, just sitting in my chair and just have a panic attack, because that's what panic disorder is. I have panic attacks all the time. What agoraphobia is, and I'm actually going to read you guys a couple different definitions for it, just so you can see what the actual definition is, and then what it actually is in practice. If you go to the Wikipedia page now, this is where everyone is going to remind me, well, Wikipedia isn't a reliable source and you can't use it. The first place people go to is Wikipedia. So I'm going to start with Wikipedia, and then I'm going to go to an actual medical diagnosis of it. So if you go to the Wikipedia page for agoraphobia, it says, agoraphobia is an anxiety disorder characterized by symptoms of anxiety in situations where the person perceives the environment to be unsafe with no easy way to get away. These situations can include open spaces, public transport, shopping malls, or simply being outside the home. Being in these situations may result in a panic attack. The symptoms occur nearly every time the situation encounter and last for more than 6 months. Those affected will go to great lengths to avoid these situations. In severe cases, people may be unable to leave their homes. So that's what Wikipedia says, and all of that is basically true. And if you read it in a certain way, you could interpret it as agoraphobia is the fear of going outdoors. It's not. What agoraphobia actually is the fear of having a panic attack in a public place where there's no easy way to escape from it. There's no easy place where you can go and feel safe. That is what agoraphobia is. Now, it manifests, and to an outside observer, it would look like you're just afraid of going outside, and that's not it. You're afraid of having a panic attack in a place where you can't escape, where you might be embarrassed, where you might be in physical danger because of it. All these other things can factor into it. And so you actively avoid situations where you might have a panic attack and not have an easy way to escape. So there's some people that have agoraphobia that don't like going outside at all. Like me personally, I have a very hard time leaving my room. Just going, like, my door to the rest of the house is literally, it's 10 feet that way. It's 10 feet away. Me traveling from here in front of my computer to 10 feet away is enough to get my heart to start racing. Opening the door and stepping out of it is enough to make me start breathing faster. And then every step I take outside makes it worse and worse. And this is just while I'm in my house, while I'm still in a relatively safe place. If I go out of my house, it becomes significantly worse. And my panic attacks are not simply racing heart, heavy breathing, stuff like that. My panic attacks, if anyone is unaware, I have what's called a psychogenic tremor in my right arm. For over a year, my arm has not stopped shaking. Or if it does stop shaking, something else starts shaking in its place. I am in constant motion. And it's linked directly to my anxiety. I've seen a neurologist. He's confirmed this is linked directly to my anxiety. That's why it's called psychogenic, not psychosomatic, and I won't get into that right now. So I have, when I have panic attacks, this gets worse, and it starts affecting my entire body. And I start to develop a stutter. Any of you that have been watching my channel for a little while probably saw a video I made a little while back where I purposefully made a video in the middle of a really bad panic attack, and you could see that I was stuttering very bad, I was shaking, I was convulsing. That's not even the worst it can get. If the panic attack keeps getting worse, the convulsions get worse. The stutter is actually from the muscles in my mouth and my jaw and my chest are convulsing, and so I don't have control over them. And so I stutter because they are seizing randomly, and they're convulsing randomly, so I can't get them to work the way I want them to. What eventually happens is I become completely nonverbal. I can't get words out because I can't control the muscles around my mouth and in my chest and everything long enough to get words out. So I basically, I'm a very large person. I am 6'4", I weigh 310 pounds, and I have an extremely wide frame. So even if I was in really, really great shape, I am a large person. I would refer to myself as refrigerator shaped. I'm a big guy. And so if you were to see a big guy convulsing, grunting, one of the medications I take, diazepam, one of the side effects is that it actually makes you drool, which is really annoying because it also gives you dry mouth. And so that's the most bizarre experience in the world, to have cotton mouth, be completely like your mouth itself feels completely parched and then still be drooling out of the side of your mouth. So if you saw a grown man, 6'4", 310 pounds, very, very big, shaking, convulsing, and then grunting and with this panicked look of fear and terror in their eyes, you would be afraid of them. And so my agoraphobia is rooted in the fact that if I have a panic attack in public, people look at me funny. There's actual danger if I have it in the wrong situation and someone perceives me as a threat, they may attempt to eliminate the threat by physically attacking me. There are many, many cases of police officers not understanding, not having a complete understanding of every single mental disorder there is, attacking people with mental illnesses because they perceive them as a threat, because they don't understand that they have schizophrenia or a panic disorder or bipolar disorder or a psychotic disorder or something like that. There's all these different things that they're not actually dangerous, but they can be perceived as dangerous. And people with mental disorders have been killed by police. They've been beaten by police. They've been tased by police and then arrested. So there is actually a genuine fear of me having a panic attack in a public place and something very bad happening. But my agoraphobia takes it to an extreme level where simply going outside of my house is enough to start me in a panic attack. And it will continue to get worse the longer I'm outside of my house until I can get to my safe space. Again, because I'm in a place where I can't easily get to a safe space. If we go over to the Mayo Clinic or Mayo Clinic, whatever it is, their definition of agoraphobia, they have agoraphobia, and then they have a pronunciation guide, which is nice, is a type of anxiety disorder in which you fear and avoid places or situations that might cause you to panic and make you feel trapped, helpless, or embarrassed. You feel an actual or anticipated situation, such as using public transportation, being in open or enclosed spaces, standing in line, or being in a crowd. The anxiety is caused by fear that there's no easy way to escape or get help if the anxiety intensifies. Many people who have agoraphobia develop it after having one or more panic attacks, causing them to worry about having another attack and avoid the places where it may happen again. And that is what's happened to me. I have panic attacks a lot. I have them so much I could write books and books and books on them. I could teach courses on panic attacks and never have to look at the textbook. I'm an expert on panic attacks. I have them literally every day of my life, sometimes lasting for hours upon hours, and they're not fun. They're absolutely terrifying. And so I've had them in public places, and I've had very, very bad interactions in these public places where people have stared at me, where people have actively been afraid of me, have actively avoided me while this has happened, and I've been in fear of my life, whether or not there was actual danger of my life. I was genuinely afraid that I was going to be hurt or killed in some of these situations. And that's what agoraphobia is. Agoraphobia is not fear of the outdoors. Agoraphobia technically is fear of panic attacks. At its most basic, agoraphobia is fear of panic attacks. And the actual clinical diagnosis of it is fear of being in a place where you could have a panic attack and you can't escape from it. You can't get to a place where you feel safe so that the panic attack gets worse. That's what it is. Again, you can look up definitions over and over again. That's what agoraphobia actually is. It's not being afraid of going outside. To be perfectly honest, I'm not sure if there is a fear of the outdoors, or what that actually, what the actual term for that is. I'm fairly. I mean, they have a phobia for everything now. I don't know what the actual fear of outdoors is, but it's not agoraphobia. Agoraphobia is literally fear of panic attacks, and fear of being in places where you feel trapped. And for me, that actually also means anytime I feel like I could be trapped. Going through a drive-through can trigger my anxiety disorder, because despite the fact being in my car is one of my safe spaces, because I'm kind of cut off from the world, so they can't, I'm safe in there. If I have a panic attack, I can kind of hide in my car and I can be fine. Or not my car. I don't have a car. I use my parents' or my mother's car. But anyways, being in a drive-through where I can't leave because I've got a car in front of me and a car behind me is enough to trigger a panic attack for me, because I can't leave. And if I have a panic attack and I start convulsing and stuff like that, and I can't drive anymore, I'm going to get people upset with me because I'm stopping, the line and everything like that. I could have the cops called on me who might, arrest me or might assault me or anything like that, which this is not meant to paint the police in a bad light in any way, shape, or form. The police are phenomenal, wonderful people that provide a very necessary service and put their lives on the line on a regular basis. This is not meant to disparage the police in any way, shape, or form. I support the police 100%. However, police training for recognizing and dealing with people that have mental illness is lacking, and that has been expressed across the country. It is a known problem with police training. And unfortunately, it's not because they're lazy or anything like that. Like, they go through a lot of training, but there's a lot of mental disorders out there, and so training them for every single one is difficult and requires someone very, very smart to design a program to get a lot of information into small digestible bits, and that simply hasn't been done yet. Or hasn't been done effectively enough that it's been implemented across the country. So, yes, that's my little disclaimer. Please don't think that I am somehow afraid of police or something like that. I'm not. I'm afraid of panic attacks. So, yes, that is what agoraphobia is. It is fear of being in a place that you might feel trapped in, that could cause you to have a panic attack, and actively avoiding those situations. Again, the thing that changes it from a fear to a phobia is the avoidance behavior. It's the act of me never leaving my room, or almost never leaving my room, and very rarely leaving my house, because I'm so terrified of having a panic attack. It's not because I'm having a panic attack. I'm afraid that just leaving, I could have a panic attack, and that fear will actually cause me to have a panic attack. And that's agoraphobia, and it negatively affects my life. I can't go shopping for myself. I can barely handle normally about 20 minutes to an hour is the maximum I can handle being in public in a whole day. That's one of the reasons why I didn't do, every so often I won't be able to get my daily Decembers out on time. It's because I've had to leave the house that day, or I've had to do something that day, and I have just drained myself completely, and I can't do anything for the rest of the day. So yes, I hope that this video helps some people to understand a little bit better what agoraphobia is, what agoraphobia isn't. One day, when I actually have the ability to keep up with it, I plan on resurrecting and stopping the stigma and taking that out of hiatus, and making an episode on agoraphobia about it. But as of right now, this is as close as it's going to get. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you guys next time, all right? Bye-bye.